radio show. I'm your host, Kenny Annie Moore. This is the first episode of season 2. We hope you had a great holiday season and are off to a productive start to your new year. We're going to switch it up a bit for this episode. Usually we start off with some music, but I have a special guest with me on the line that we're going to get right to talking to. I'm a huge sports fan, especially basketball. So in this episode, it's entitled The Coaching Episode. I've been coaching AAU and high school basketball for the last 5 years, and this person that's about to join us is a huge influence on why I do what I do in the coaching world. He played 17 years in the NBA and coached in the college ranks for over 10 years. He won a national championship at the University of Kentucky on the staff of John Calipari. I'm fortunate to call him my uncle, big brother, and mentor. Now joining us, Rod Strickland. Rod, what's up? Thanks for being on.
Oh, absolutely. What's up, nephew? This is the first time I'm doing a podcast with family. So I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, for sure. We have been talking about it for a little bit, and we finally were able to make it happen. So this is great. This is historic.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, normally when people get you on, I've listened to some of your podcasts and some, where you've been on, and mostly people like to talk about your NBA career and talk about your connection to Kyrie. But I wanted to get you on and kind of talk about your coaching journey. So kind of talk about your coaching journey. You started off in a support staff role at the University of Memphis. Then you were an assistant at Kentucky, and you ended up as an assistant at USF. So kind of walk my audience through that whole process of like making a transition from being a player to a coach.
Well, I guess winding down to my playing days, late in my career, I was trying to figure out what was next. You kind of know the end is coming. You can tell, by the way you're playing and the way teams are playing you. So it's coming to an end. So I always thought about, what would I do afterwards. I know I'm a basketball guy. I've been a basketball guy all my life. I don't think a lot of people really understood that they probably understand it a little more now. So I just was trying to figure things out, but I wasn't for sure. And, I got to back up too. So when I retired from NBA, which, I tell people it's not really a retirement. Most of the time, it's just basically you can't play anymore.
Right.
So I still had the itch for basketball. So I actually was supposed to go over to Lithuania with Arvydas Sabonis. I had signed a contract with them. I had my bags packed, but I had told my kids during that season that it was going to be my last year. But I still had the itch, so after the season, I was in talks with Sabonis, so it was a done deal. Had my bags packed. The kids left that morning. They were whining, kind of
sure.
about me leaving. And by the time I got up to get up and go, get in the car, pack the rest of my stuff, I changed my mind.
Wow.
And I said I couldn't do it. Like I didn't want to leave the kids. I was a little worried about being overseas. You know me very well. I'm very finicky.
Just a little bit.
And I love my surroundings, to be comfortable. And so I was kind of a little leery of just going overseas and being away from everybody. And so I backed out of that. So now I'm home and I'm bored because one thing people don't understand is you playing basketball all your life. No matter what, if you hang out, if you don't hang out, whatever you do, I think most players, your day is kind of surrounded by basketball.
You got a routine.
Your routine. So every day I'm touching that gym, in some capacity. It could be once, twice, it could be playing ball, it could just be working out. So now I'm like, what do I do? Like there's no reason to go to the gym. And so I'm at home, family's out, the kids are in school, my friends are working, and I really was sitting there like, wow, like what's next? And kind of bored and frustrated. I reached out to a friend, and I'm like, listen, I need a job. like I'm going crazy. And, that turned into a conversation with Cal. Then I wound up, John Calipari, and then I wound up at Memphis. And I was in a supporting role. And it's so funny because back then, no pro basketball player would have coached in college. They all thought that, that's too much work. Like, if you go back, I don't think people really understand this. If you go back in detail, when I first got into college basketball, how many pro coaches there were, pro basketball players that were coaching. It was only Danny Manning.
Yeah, and Wagner, right?
I slipped, but it was Danny Manning.
And Wagner, too, because you replaced him, right?
No. Danny Manning he was at Kansas or somewhere. No. I replaced, I'm sorry, you're right. I replaced Milt Wagner.
Right.
I replaced Milt Wagner. Right. Danny Manning was somewhere else. But I think Milt Wagner, I'm not for sure he wasn't even in the coaching position. But still, he was on the staff. So there was two.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
There weren't many of them.
Right.
So, I got there and Cal kind of tried to look at, I think he tried to look and see how Danny Manning got on staff. And I think he did it by being a player development /manager. So you had to put the manager on the tag so that you can be on the court. That was the only way you can be on the court.
Okay.
So, I started out as, player development. And for 2 years, one year I made $1,000 a month for 9 months.
Wow. I
wasn't even a full-time. And then the next year I made $1,200 for 9 months.
Oh, you got a bump.
Yeah, I got bumped. And then the third year I became director of basketball operations. And I think I may have gotten up to, I don't know, was it 60,000, 70,000, something like that. And so, but I was happy to be in a position where, I can aspire to get better and, learn how to become a coach, because I just came out of professional ranks. I still had my professional BS with me, I still had the spoiled in me. I still hung out a little bit. I was learning to be like a professional in the world outside of basketball. I was learning how to be a coach, and, there were times where, I'll come in later on in the day. Like, I just didn't know the value. And I've always had issues with time.
Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you, like, Cal, I wanted to shake his hand because he was the first dude to get you out of bed. Like, nobody in the league, nobody could get you out of bed. Like, he was the first.
That's, that wasn't the greatest habits, obviously. that was a habit that carried over, from, real young, from my youth. So I had to learn to become professional. I had to learn how to study the game. As a basketball player, I studied it in my own way. But as a coach, it's a bigger picture.
Sure.
You have to look at it in a broader perspective. So, each year I was learning how to become more professional. I'll never forget, the best thing that happened was Cal made us write a scouting report. He told us, he said, I want y'all to watch 5 games of every time we play somebody, you need to watch 5 of their games. And then I want you to write out a report. So that was good for me because it locked me in to watching the games, which teaches you more. That's why all these guys who are video guys become coaches, right? Because they're all day.
Sure, they're just watching film.
So
yeah.
Right, so they get to study the game, and they're actually important because, they're like the lifeline for the coach. They're giving him all the information.
Sure.
So I started doing that, and, that helped a lot. I still was transitioning from playing to coaching, so I still had some bad habits and all that. But it was great. I was there with some great players. I was there with Tyreke Evans, Derrick Rose. We went to the national title game, lost, unfortunately, to Kansas. But, I had a chance to be around those guys. I had a chance to be around Cal. I used to always ask him questions why he did things. I'll never forget there were 2 players we had. This is my first year with Cal. And we had 2 point guards. And one point guard to me, obviously, was the starting point guard.
Okay.
Smart, tough, experienced. Then we had a younger guard. And, I think he needed some work. I don't think he was ready.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, Cal was kind of playing the other guy, or it seemed to me like he was trying to get this other guy ready to play over the guy who I thought was ready. And so one day I went in the office and I asked him, why, what's the matter? Why you seem like you want to play this guy or that guy? And he said, I need to make sure that the point guard number 2 is ready, because point guard number 1 may let us down. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't say down, but he said, basically, he wasn't confident in him doing the right thing, right? So he wanted to prepare the second point guard just in case. You know what I mean? Of if this guy, something happened and we needed him. So that, to me, that was great information at the time. Because I was looking at it one way, but he was looking at it, in a bigger picture. And it kind of made me go back to my playing days, too, to kind of like, why there were times when teams tried to get other guards and, me being laid off. You know what I mean? Doing things like that, you realize when you look at it from a coaching perspective, how disruptive that could be. So I kind of understood what he said. That was like a little nugget for me. But I always ask Cal certain things, why he did this or that. Because I was just trying to gain information and knowledge. So, but it was a great experience. Then we moved on to Kentucky. Cal had the opportunity to go to Kentucky. Never forget sitting in his house for days, and he's trying to figure out, if he wants to take the job, because obviously it was his dream job. But he loved Memphis. He had done some great things there, and he had people there, and so that was kind of hard.
Yeah, he really built that program.
What you say?
He really built that program, so I'm sure it had to be kind of tough.
Right. He brought it back to what it once was, the Penny Hardaway years and all that. So, it was kind of hard for him to leave. And Josh Pashman was there, and he wound up getting the job. And he was only there for a year. And he actually asked me to stay.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
Yeah. And I thought about it for a second because I wanted to be a coach, and I was moving on. I didn't know if I was going to be a coach. I was still in that, that other position. But I got to Kentucky, and I was like, no, I can't leave this. It's crazy. Like, I walked into those facilities.
Yeah.
So, I wound up at Kentucky, became the assistant coach. And, we had some of the greatest talent that were going to sign with us in Memphis basically came to Kentucky, and John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Bledsoe. I think I'm missing someone. But those were the 3 main ones. Mm-hmm. And then we had Patrick Patterson, who was already there. Some of the older guys, DeAndre Liggins, Darius Miller. So we kind of put together a really good team and an exciting team. John Wall was probably one of the most dynamic guards that we've had, while I was in college. His personality and the way he walked in the door, he was like, he was on 10 from the beginning.
Yeah, so kind of. Hold on 1 second, Rod. Kind of talk about the difference between him and because you had Derrick Rose, you had Tyreke, and then you had John Wall. So kind of talk about what made Wall different from them other 2 guys. Well,
the only thing, his dynamic personality. Like he loved the spotlight. That was the difference. That was the main difference between him, Tyreke, and D Rose. Tyreke and D Rose were kind of like under the radar guys. They loved the spotlight, but they were quiet about it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It wasn't as demonstrative or out there like that. John Wall, he wanted all of that. You know what I mean?
I got you.
He did the dance.
Yeah.
He was enthusiastic.
Yeah, you could tell that was his stage. Yeah, he just made it his own.
Yeah, even in practice, we guys stand under the basket talking. This dude comes and dunks over you. they're all on your neck and your head, and he thought that was funny. You know what I mean? Like he just had that personality. He just was a real outgoing dude. And the other two guys were just to themselves. Like Derrick Rose never really spoke. I tell people the first time, I'll never forget it. So I had a scout ask me who was better, D Rose or DJ Augustine. And, with all due respect to DJ Augustine, just wasn't any comparison to me.
Right.
So, but this was the beginning of the year, and Derrick Rose was such a unselfish player that, he was averaging, I don't know, maybe 8 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. He didn't really, it wasn't a big deal to him. So this scout comes and asks me that, and I go to D Rose. And I said, this scout came and asked me who was better, you or DJ Augustine. And I said, I'm not talking about, I said, that's crazy. I said, but you know why they asked me that? I said, because you playing down to the level of your competition. Like, you out here coasting, and you not, like, if you coasting against these guys, no one can tell the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Like, you playing around too much. Like, so just forward to the NCAA tournament, we're playing Texas, and we're walking out the tunnel, and D Rose is right by me, so he goes, "Strick, watch this." I said, "Strick, watch this," and
he destroyed that dude. I remember that game. Yeah,
he went nuts.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, he went nuts throughout the tournament.
Yeah,
but that was D Rose. You know what I mean? Super competitive, like John Wall, like Tyreke Evans, like Brandon Knight, but just real super quiet. Brandon Knight was quiet as well. Brandon Knight was one of the hardest working guys, if not probably the hardest working guy I've been around.
Is that right?
As a basketball player, he was a machine. Tyreke Evans was just, he was so gifted. He worked hard as well, like all of them did. But I'll never forget Tyreke Evans in, the Sweet 16. I think we played Missouri. He had like 36 points, and they were all like different kind of layups.
Yeah, that guy got to the basket at will.
Yeah, he just put on a show with layups. And I remember after the game, Cal telling him, "You're out of here. This is your last game here."
Wow.
Like you just basically made your money, off of that game. So, I had opportunity to coach all those guys, and that first year at Kentucky with Jay Wall and DeMarcus, it was an exciting team. They were young, exciting, but it was tough because that was the first time having so many young guys. And I've always said it's hard to win with one and done situation because you never know when that young player will have that moment. And
absolutely,
it's possible. They're capable of it. You play this whole year and they can play so well, and you can get to one game in the tournament where they have that moment.
Yeah, that was that Elite Eight game. That was that Elite Eight game against West Virginia.
What you say?
I said that was that Elite Eight game against West Virginia.
Right. So it's not like it's 3 out of 5. So West Virginia threw a 1-3-1 zone against us, and we struggled with it. And I think we tried to shoot too many jumpers, and
absolutely,
and they beat us. And that was a great team that could have went further, but just a great experience. And then for the rest of my career at Kentucky. Obviously, we had Anthony Davis, Brandon Knight, Michael Gilchrist, Terrence Jones. I know I'm forgetting some people, Darius Miller. But we wound up winning a national title in, I think it was 2010 or 11. Keep getting it mixed up. But we won because we had experience. We had just come from a Final Four the year before. And then the next year, we got Anthony Davis, Michael Gilchrist, who were two young guys who were, not just special players, but they were like special individuals. Like Anthony Davis was a team guy. And so he was the best guy on the team, but you might not have seen that every night, like offensively. but he would do whatever it took, and he had no problems. You know, how many shots he got, he never talked about. You know, he never complained. He was a team guy. You know, in the final game, you know, he was struggling. In the halftime, he told the guys, y'all score, I'll do the rebounding and blocking shots. And then Michael Gilchrist was the ultimate team player leader. He probably was the first guy. Well, no, I won't say the first guy, but he had no problems with getting on players and challenging guys. So we had two special players and people that walked into a Final Four team that had Terrence Jones, DeRon Lamb, and then we had the older guys and Darius Miller and DeAndre Higgins. So, you know, that propelled us to win that championship. You know, just winning with young guys is hard. And I don't know if people understand that, but we had like a balance. And then we had the experience of the Final Four before we won the championship.
So kind of talk about the difference between the chemistry and the makeup of that Memphis team that lost in the finals, and then the team at Kentucky that wound up winning it all.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, it's just all talent.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it just comes down to talent. You got Anthony Davis, Michael Gilchrist, DeRon Lamb, Marcus Teague, Darius.
All first-round picks. Yeah. Oh, well, I said all first-round picks except for Miller.
Right. So you had experience. You had great players. You know, at Memphis, you had D. Rose was the star. You know, he was the guy. You know, we had Chris Douglas Roberts, who had a great college career.
He did.
And was a stone cold killer.
He was. I love this game.
Yeah. You had Antonio Anderson. You had Dorsey. You know, we had some. You know, we had some good talent. We definitely had talent. But you know, just the difference is talent. You know, the Kentucky guys were pros. They all were pros. And, you know, we had one Dorsey played for a while as well. But, you know, D. Rose was the guy. He was the engine. And the funny thing about D. Rose, he started off so bad in preseason. We were like, man, he might be here for 4 years.
Really?
Like, yeah, he didn't look that good in the beginning. He had to get adjusted to the dribble drive and all that, because we were running strictly dribble drive at the time.
Right. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. You seem, you know, we're talking about college, and so I kind of want to talk about recruiting a little bit. So you've seen recruiting like from every aspect as a player, coach, and even now as a parent with your son. So kind of talk about that process from a coach's perspective and then from a parent's perspective.
Well, the recruiting thing is sometimes tricky for me. That's a hard question. I'm going to answer it as best as I can.
Okay.
But how can I say this? So, you know, if I'm recruiting your son, you know, I want to tell him what we have to offer. You know, I want to tell him what the real deal is. I want to tell him what he is as a player. You know, what he has to improve on, what he's good at. You know, on and off the court. You know, sometimes in recruiting, you know, I think it's overboard, right? Because I don't, like, how can I say it? I don't think, you know, I think sometimes it needs more sense of reality. I think sometimes it's hard for people to tell kids what they really need to tell them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, you know, and the recruiting landscape, there's so many people you have to deal with. You know, people in the circle. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've always had good experiences with recruiting, but I've also, like, even like with my son, with recruiting, you know, I mean, you just, no, let me read that. Let me not say my son. But just in recruiting, I think you should always be straight up front and honest and talk about what your school can offer and what that kid, what's his value. And I don't think you should play with that. Right? Okay. I think sometimes, you know, there's some misleading going on in recruiting, and I think that's probably the toughest part. You know, and you know, I mean, just from my experiences, it's I don't know, it's a hard subject to talk about, but
well, let me ask it this way.
Recruiting, I've enjoyed it, and then there's times where I haven't enjoyed it.
Okay.
On both sides.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. So, talk about the difference. You were at Kentucky and you guys were getting the cream of the crop in terms of the one and done talent, and then transitioning from there to South Florida, trying to build the program. And talk about the difference in terms of how the recruiting or the challenges in recruiting from going from Kentucky to USF.
Right. Well, the challenge is, first of all, you have John Calipari, who's probably one of the best at it. He's changed every program he's been to, right?
For sure.
So that's an established, that's a win. That's facts, right? So you can walk into any place, and the kids will know that John Calipari wins. Then the one and done phenomenon came on, which Cal started. So now it's like whatever he touched turned to gold. So all the guys are becoming one and dones. They're leaving. So now you have the fact that if you come to my school, I can make you a pro.
Right.
And then you have the charisma, the personality, the coaching ability. Cal does everything firsthand. He tries to make it. He tries to make the best situation for the kids. So now the recruitment is not that hard. Right,
Absolutely.
Now you have all these things that you can walk in and talk about, and so that becomes kind of easy, And then Cal comes in, and being Cal, and he's telling you what Kentucky's about, how hard it's going to be, and then he tells you your possibilities after you leave there. You can't sell it any better than that, and it happens. So that at Kentucky, it becomes kind of easy. I don't think it's that, it's that complicated. South Florida becomes a difference because there's no history. There's no, you don't have the winning records. You don't have the championships. And at Kentucky, even before Cal got there, it's a rich history. So
one of the top programs in the country.
8 titles or 7 titles? So you walked in the door with that as well. So Kentucky already had a rich history, and then you have John Calipari walk in the door. So that was kind of easy. But at South Florida, it was tougher because you didn't have all that. And so now you had to sell a program that you think will be up and coming. And then you have other Florida schools. You have Florida, you have Florida State, and other surrounding schools. So USF was a little tougher, obviously, just because of, what it is. I mean, it's blatant. Kentucky just had so much tradition and wins and history and all that, and South Florida didn't have that.
Okay, I got you. So I remember a couple years ago, we was at a tournament. I was coaching. Terrell was playing, my brother was refereeing, and another one of our cousins was playing. And we was having a conversation about the issues that we see in AAU basketball. So can you share some of your thoughts with my listeners in terms of some of your perspective on AAU and some of the things that you think can improve or be better?
No, I just sometimes I guess just the teaching aspect. I don't think they practice a whole lot. Well, they really don't practice much. They kind of put teams together. And I think that's great for, whoever you deem the top guys. Because they walk in and they know the ball is theirs. And they can play any kind of way they want. But the surrounding players, that's tougher for them. And I don't know. I grew up, and I hate the old school, new school, but I grew up in an era where we practiced all the time. And we were in our own, what can I say? If you're in New York, if you was in the Bronx, Manhattan, you probably played on the same team. Brooklyn had a team. So that means y'all were around each other all the time. So, y'all were able to practice a lot. And so everybody had a chance to develop and get better. And, you watch how this thing happens with pros, and a lot of times, a lot of the pros, the league is made up of guys you've never heard of or just started coming on in college or at the end of their college careers. And that's because you have a lot of kids out here who can play that just don't get that attention, and as they grow and as they develop, when finally they go to college or somewhere where someone puts a lot of attention and detail into their game, they become better. And I think, AAU, it's kind of like you have a player or two on the team and you basically telling them this is your team, right? So they get they have an advantage, right? It's a creative advantage that some of the other kids don't get. Because if you instill confidence in someone, I don't think people understand how far that goes. You can have 3 players, 4 players on the team. You're saying these 2 kids are better, but if you put that same confidence and energy in that backpack, that battery in that other kid's back, we don't know what would happen, right?
Because confidence is everything.
So, sometimes I have a little problem with that, but it is what it is. I also think it has to be about the kids, and, there's so many things, so much going on. When I grew up, there were, we had mentors, we had coaches who cared about us and wanted us to be better as individuals, taught us the value of winning. I played for an AAU coach that, we had to play the right way. I played 17 years in the NBA because I learned the fundamentals from the beginning. I learned how to dribble with my right and left hand, lay up with right and left hand. I learned that if a big man grabbed a rebound and he run down the court and he give you that outlet, he runs, you got to reward him. So I learned how to play basketball and in the way that it wasn't just about me. I learned that I had to sacrifice for the players on my team. I learned that even though I might have been the best guy on the team, no one ever treated me like that. I can say that now, but if I look back, I wasn't on the court like this is my team. I wasn't dictating anything. We had guys, if I didn't play well, Dedrick could play. It's Dedrick's turn, or it's Ty's turn, or you know what I mean?
For sure.
It wasn't so. There's just some things I think that could change, or we could take a look at. But I don't know. AAU is interesting. There's a lot going on. You have the sneaker companies now. You have a lot of people dictating what's happening and who's who. And I don't know. I could be naive. When I was young, who knows? That could have been happening. I don't know. But just things like that I look at.
So, with us being family, I kind of wanted to ask you, how was it, how is it being a dad and seeing your sons? You got one that's a freshman. What's up, Ty, at Wisconsin. Then you got Terrell, who's a senior at St. Pete High. And then you got baby girl, Tanner. I saw some stuff on Instagram. She was like, she's going to be a hooper, too. So kind of talk about how you're enjoying the other side, being a dad, now that you're kind of transitioning out of the coaching world.
Well, I enjoyed them all growing up, I got a 24-year-old daughter, too, Torin, who doesn't play athletics, but, I'm proud of her as well as everyone else. But,
for sure,
it's great to see them develop, to see them grow. I remember them 5 and 6-year-olds dribbling the ball in the gym to now 19, 17, 13. And they've grown so much as people, as basketball players. My kids are 3.6 and 5. They all got 3-point-something grade averages. I'm proud of that.
They didn't get that from their dad.
Yeah, they so much more well-rounded than I ever could have been. I told my oldest son, if I was like him, I'd have ruled the world.
Wow.
So I'm proud of them for that. And then just watching them grow as basketball players and having those conversations with them and getting them to understand that this is a long journey It's not about the, it's not about the right now. Stop. Don't think about, what's going on with everybody else. Everybody's journey is different. So to be able to give them all of my experiences, I think is valuable. And I'm grateful that I've had those experiences that I can pass on. So I just like watching them develop. They've gotten better every year, and I keep telling them, and I would tell any young person is like athlete, like you can get better in like a month. Like I don't think people understand if you put your mind to it and you're doing the right work, like you can become a whole new player in a month or two.
If you're willing to put in the work.
So in 6 months and a year, I always tell them think like 2 and 4 years ahead. Right? You guys have developed so much over these past years. Just think about if you continue to do that and you work harder. Because once you go to college, your work capacity becomes more. And that's how you get better. And it's like if you go to the pros, your work capacity is more. And so you get even better. So I just enjoy watching them grow as athletes and also as people, as little adults or young adults, and I'm just, I'm like a proud pops just watching them grow, and they handle things very well. Ty's in Wisconsin, not really playing much right now, and I told him I'm so proud of him, the way he's handled it, because I don't think I could at 19 I wouldn't have handled that like that. So.
Yeah, man, you see him like engaged on the bench. He's clapping. He's supporting his teammates. Like.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, and I, just like myself, I've always been a team guy, so on that basketball court, it was never just about me. It was about winning. It was about making other people better, and I think they understand that part of the game as well.
So, as a coach, I deal with a lot of parents, and you have some that get it and then some that don't. Kind of give some advice to some parents in terms to how they need to handle their sons, like in high school, the recruiting, the whole process, just the whole just being a parent and watching them develop. Kind of give advice to some parents out there that may need some insight or some from somebody that's been through the process.
Yeah, well, I think it's hard, right? Because being in it from both sides, like I have, different perspectives, right?
Sure.
Because on one side you have to let your child be the basketball player and that person. You can't live through them, right? And you can't force it like it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. When I grew up, my parents knew nothing about me playing basketball, so I had to figure it out on my own. Nowadays, parents are more in tune. They're there. We take. It's like my kids. No one took me to games and stayed at the games. And, now you drive them to games, you stay at the games, you travel, you watch them and all that. And so you have to be careful not to be overbearing. I see some parents that are doing too much.
Yes.
And on the other side of it, you have to protect your kids.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Because
Definitely.
there's a lot of things out here, a lot of people out here. And so you have to be there to protect them. And, even the college experience, I hear a lot of people talk about the transfer thing, and why kids transfer so much and all this and that. Well, sometimes you go and you've been told something and it doesn't happen the way it was told to you, right?
Goes back to that recruiting that we was talking about, yeah.
To move on. Coaches do the same thing. So it's a tricky situation because I've seen it on both sides. And so I know as a parent, you have to protect your kids. And I also know that as a parent, sometimes in this AAU, you have to give your kid an advantage because everybody else will give, whether it's an AAU coach or whether it's a parent coaching their kid on the team. So everybody's trying to create an advantage. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So it's hard, So on one hand, you have to be careful. You don't want to be too much involved. You want to stand in the background and support your kid and make sure everything's going right. But on the other side, there's a lot of agendas out here.
Yeah,
and so you have to protect your kids. So I don't know. If you had asked me this question some years ago, I might have said something different. But just now seeing it from as a coach, as a player, as a parent, there's a lot going on. So there's nothing cut and dry.
Yeah, I think it's all, with anything else, is finding the balance of being a parent and then being hands off and then knowing when you need to be hands on.
Yeah, but it's tough, right? Because I look at even like me and my kids, right? I look at being in the gym, and I got like two personalities. The oldest one used to just go at it,
Gotcha.
And then the younger one just watched that, and he was slick. So when he saw me going at the older one, he did something so I wouldn't go at him. You know what I mean? Like,
I got you. Yeah.
Play this little game, but like you have to push them, right?
Yeah.
Parents, like, because you're going to push them, their mother pushes them in school, right? She pushes them hard. Make sure that's why they're the great
3-6, yeah. Got the results.
In general, this is a tough world. So you have to push them. You have to toughen them up. You know what I mean? Because they got to walk out of your house at some point in time into an unforgiving world. So, there is that push that's needed. Right, but then you got to understand, it's parent son. So I learned and I realized that my words affect my kids differently from someone else's. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
But sometimes, those words have to be said, right?
Yeah.
So
some tough love. Right? You have to, use some tough love every now and then.
I've always, after we walked off the basketball court, I've always made sure that we talked and everything was good. Right, so because it's important for me to have a great relationship with them. So yeah, when we're on the court, I'm gonna get on you just like I would get on any other kid, But when we're off the court, like that's over with, that's done with, But it's tough. It's tough. Because every time I'm around kids who played, who father worked them out, whether it's Kyrie, whether it was Andrew. What's my man? Can't forget my guy's name. Andrew from Kentucky.
The twins?
The twins, yeah. Whether it was their pops, like they all talked about how, they all had their stories. You know what I mean? And they're funny after you listen to them now, because they're all the same. But you want what's best for your kids. You try to push them. Like I saw LeBron talking to his kid on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Twitter.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hide up under the car. I thought that was great. But there's moments where it's opposite of that. You know what I mean?
But I'm sure he's had his moments where he had to put his foot in their behinds too.
Absolutely. So it's like you said, it's a line that you got to teet on, you got to walk it. But we all want our kids to be successful. So it happens.
Okay, so you got Ty as a freshman and Terrell as a senior. How is his season going? How's he looking? How's his prospect?
Yeah, well, Terrell is classified as 2020.
Oh, okay.
Because he'll probably do the prep year, and Terrell is on the younger side of his age, and so his development has been Both of my kids, they started out like Ty came into high school at 5'3". Terrell came into high school as 5'1". So, like myself, they have developed late, right? Mm-hmm. So Terrell is about 5'11" now. He'll grow. He'll be 6'1", 6'2" before this is all said and done. So that's why he'll be 2020.
Okay.
Most likely. But he's been playing well. He's been playing well. They both have been playing well. Ty's done what he's supposed to do in college, whether it's in practice, whether it's the little bit of minutes he's gotten. He's done what he's supposed to do, and Terrell is playing well. He's the guy on the team now. He has the chance to have the ball in his hands for the most part. And I think he's going to get better and better. I think it's going to be exactly like Ty. He'll get recruited late in the game. late in the season after people realize it. You know, he hasn't had a lot of eyes on him. So, you know, no one's really seen him. So I think, you know, he's only going to get better as this year or two goes on.
Yeah, I you know, just from the few times that I've seen him play, the one thing that stands out with Terrell is the way he sees that floor. Like, he reminds me so much of you in terms of seeing that court. And I remember that one game when I came down, I think it was like a district playoff game or something like that, and he hit this kid for a layup from half court with a bounce pass, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, he sees the court well. I always tell them if they put both of their games together, they'll be ridiculous. But he sees the court well. He has a good feel for it.
All right, I appreciate this time, Unc. Man, this is something. This is a privilege and an honor. We definitely got to do this again.
Absolutely.
So thanks for being on. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining Any Key Radio Show.
Definitely.
That was Rod Strickland. So great to have Uncle come on and give his thoughts and his perspective on the game that we both love. Now it's time to get into some music. We're going to go into You Can't Stop Me by Andy Mineo.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the brakes at? I give him that diddy bop. Like, take that, take that, take that, take that. I'ma put in work. I'ma do that ASAP. Throw my faith in rap. But if they don't say that, huh? What I'ma turn down for? I feel like Shaq in 9-4. Breaking glass in that backboard. I like Kobe in Toronto, huh? Dropping 81. Yo, I dropped the 88. Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. Sleeping on it, should've stayed awake, huh? Everybody make mistakes like VJs. Tryna say my name is Mineo. Say it with me, Mineo. Okay, great. 2 forks high, raise the stakes. Risk it all, I take the hate. This the winning team, get the Gatorade. My guy good, but he's not safe, nah. They try to shut us down and it ain't gon' slide. Only thing I fear is God and he on my side. That's the confidence I got, girl, he got me. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. You can't stop me. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. You can't stop me. You're my biggest opponent. You know me, I know you, we know it. Whenever I fail, you always been there to simply remind me you're blown it. You don't see when I'm growing. You don't see where I'm going. You only see in the moment. You know my mistakes. You never let go it. Don't cease to amaze me, and it drive me crazy. That you catch every detail that I miss in the songs I'm making. Saying you will never write a verse like Kendrick. Never be the rapper I got from Hendrix. Top 10 alive, you will never be mentioned. Why aim so high, won't survive the trenches. Plus, you a Christian, Andy. They will never listen, Andy. Plus, we a pigment, Andy. You don't got skill, you a gimmick, Andy. Well, if I listen to you and everything you put in my ear, I'll be living like woulda, shoulda, coulda. I'll be paralyzed by fear. Ain't that the truth? If I quit, the only way I lose. I got 2 choices when I do this: make moves or make excuses. If you know who I'm talking about, then you got me. My biggest enemy is me, and even I can't stop me. They try to shut us down and it ain't gon' slide. Only thing I fear is God and he on my side. That's the confidence I got, cause he got me. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. You can't stop me. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. You can't stop me. I said if I cannot stop me, then you'll never stop me. Oh no, can't stop. Oh no, won't stop. I said if I cannot stop me, then you'll never stop me. Oh no, can't stop. Oh no, won't stop. I said if I cannot stop me, then you'll never stop me. Oh no, can't stop. Oh no, won't stop. I said if I cannot stop me, then you'll never stop me. Oh no, you can't stop me.
You Can't Stop Me by Andy Mineo. Figured since we was talking about basketball, we throw in some music that makes some great references to some basketball players. So that was Andy Mineo again with You Can't Stop Me. Now it's time to wrap up the show with the Any Key music moment. Parents, the best thing you can do for your kids that are playing sports is be their biggest fan and supporter. Be careful not to overstep your bounds with their coaches and allow them to be coached. Allow them to deal with adversity and go through challenges. If you allow them to overcome adversity and conquer their challenges, you give them the tools they could use to take with them through life when they're off the court or the field. Enjoy the journey because time goes by fast and you don't get back those teenage and high school years once they graduate. All right, that's it for this episode of the Any Key Radio Show. I want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio. Like, subscribe, leave a review. Let me know what you think of the show. So, we're out of here. Until next time, remember, always be positive on purpose.